Welcome, everybody. This is Trekyards. He is Ptach Cockings.
He's Chancellor Foley. It's quite a difference there in rank, Bledsoe.
Yeah. I'm feeling a little hungry, a little ravenous. Might go for some gach, some blood wine. I don't know. After we're done filming.
The ship today, if you stay here and just stay on this live the entire time, the ship has lots of gach.
Fine. Well, like I said, I'm ravenous. And you guys are too for more ship information. So today we're talking about a Klingon cruiser called the Ravenous.
Yes. Now this is part of our Legacy series, which is not the new, maybe Picard spin-off, but the game, 2006, came around and they invented quite a lot of cool new ships. We've been able to gain access to a lot of those raw things. I've done some conversions, try and make them work better in a not 2006 game way. A lot of you have played at the time and saw them as small things on a small screen. I mean, 4:3 CRT still, right? Like, this is full HD and whatever, much nicer version. And we looked at a couple, this is another one. And, giving them that time in the spotlight that they didn't really have at the time in a brand new, fresh way. I'm excited. This is the Ravenous. Stuart, what do you think?
A chunky boy, and I like it. I like all the dimensionality on this one. Again, the head of the ship, I've said this before with the Romulans, but it looks very FASA, Klingon FASA design-like. I love it. This even has some holdovers to, like, Enterprise era with those, like, support struts at the base of the neck there, which they haven't quite incorporated into the actual superstructure yet. I like it, so I don't know where it fits in the timeline, though. It feels like it's probably a motion picture era ship, but it could be a little earlier because of those. Because I know John added those, so it looked like rigging. It looked like an older style ship, right, when John used to design them. And they kind of carried that over to this, which I like. It's a nice iterative tie-ins thing, so.
Yeah, all these different game ships are gonna, the caveat of like 3,000 polygons. So it is boxier than it needs to be, but it's also as boxy as it needs to be. But I do think in this situation, you'd curve them a smidge more, but I actually quite like the robust feeling of this. I wouldn't change it that much. I think that's actually part of its charm, is that, let's say rustic, but it's more of that TOS legacy, right? It's like big boulder shapes, armoured, obviously when a new show introduces a new Klingon ship, they look back on the D7, the Katinga, continue that legacy. This, to me, is that, but it's doing enough of its own visual flourishes to be like, well, it's not the D legacy, it's a different class of starship. We have so many variants in the fleet in modern Trek. A Defiant is not an Oberth, is not a Sovereign. So this is not a D7. This is a light cruiser. It's a science cruiser. It's I like that. It gives me something slightly different, even though it is that same familiar basic shape. I get more of it's not part of that legacy, it's off to the side. So I quite like that. And therefore it gives it more free form to just do its own thing. That said, what is its own thing? Don't know.
Like I said, it looks rather bulky. It looks like it could take a few hits.
Yeah.
Looks like it might be extra armor plating.
Yep.
It could be actually a battle cruiser. Looks like maybe just the regular substructure or the superstructure of a D7's been like armored up. Almost is what it feels like.
If you take the window scale on the neck as a gospel, which I don't know, maybe, it's not big, but Borels aren't big either. But I do like the idea of it being a really chunky boy armored tank. It'll warp in, do some damage. We'll see if it has torpedoes. We've not seen more views yet, so we'll see where the weapons are. I kind of like the idea of bringing in, the ships that are fully bristling weapons, and some that are to take punishment, some that are there to kind of force the hand of an opposing fleet to also fire on them, because you can't not engage ships if they're in a fleet. You've got to kind of spread your firepower out, otherwise just being attacked from nowhere. And if these ships are like 3 times the armor, that's an interesting concept. I've never considered that, but actually I think it could quite work. So let's continue. The next view is the back. Single impulse drive, possibly a shuttle bay above it after a grill.
I would imagine so, yeah. There could also be shuttle bay doors on the left and right of that impulse engine as well, but they don't have a lot of details, so. But then again, it's a little poly model.
Also a bar in between.
Oh, is there? I thought that might be like a underneath kind of thing.
No, that's in the middle, or near enough the middle to have to fly over.
Well, it's interesting that to have that single impulse engine in the middle. It's very Klingon bird of prey like design of it kind of thing.
It is, yeah, it is.
It's got the nacelle elements. The rear elements are very much like the rear of the D7. The rest are just all bulked up in the cell.
With limited glows, but I like it.
Yeah, I like the size and shape of the head of the ship. It's quite an interesting idea to not have that big tower on the top and kind of just flatten that off. The top hat, as we call it.
But it's not boring either. It's a nice balance between that. Yeah. What do you think about the cutout in the pylon?
I like it.
I like it too.
See, if you know what it reminds me of, though, I just see Runabout. It has a Runabout look to it. Yeah.
It gives it some character, actually.
Now, what would be the functional purpose of that? I don't know. You'd think it'd almost be better just to fill that in and have more sturdy, stronger struts, right? But it looks amazingly cool.
And you've also got, again, we're looking at basic details. You've got potentially shoulder blades, because they're kind of darker with some mild grilling, Bird of Prey-esque. Obviously, the shoulder blades in the Bird of Prey are the mechanical bits that make the wings move. That's actually functionally what they do. No reason for that here, but if that's what it's going for, I kind of like it. Bit of separation.
The glow on the inner nacelle is a little bit weird, but again, it's the game model thing, I think. Like, I would probably change that.
But I don't mind it being armoured, and that's the only bit that's a visible coil. Now, the next view does answer a question. Yes, it does have the classic and legendary forward torpedo launcher view. No visible disruptors, but that's not a trope that we can count on, because, you know, that's okay.
And what would you say to those middle parts with the darker gray? What would you say about those being on the secondary hull, being shuttle bays? That'd be kind of interesting place for shuttle bays on each side. I don't think they are at all, but it'd be interesting to have doors there.
I think they're meant to be the same as the Katinga and D7. They've got poly count to give them detailing, because there are similar shouldery bladey things. But I quite like the double neck. There's kind of a chunkier bit with plating around it and like a pipe in the middle, which I kind of like. It breaks up the shapes, but isn't just a boring thing.
And nice. It solves a lot of people's issues with the D7 and the Katinga. It's like that boom is a weak point, and blah blah blah. This bulks it out, and I like that. I do like that a lot.
Gives me a vibe that you can also swap head modules, slide it out, put a new one in, have different weapon arrangements.
Now, I know this is really low poly, and I'm looking at the very front of the thing. It looks like there might supposed to be windows there, and it even looks like there might be two phaser turrets. It's almost probably not the case, but it'd be interesting to have like two forward-facing disruptors or phasers there.
Yeah, definitely windows. Just, you know, there ain't many pixels to these textures anyway. But I do actually quite like it. Back view, yep, not too much gleaned here. Although actually, there's actually a lot more windows when you start to. There are definitely some on the back of the head. There are some secondary hull. There's actually a good amount of windows on this thing. Huh.
This is just asking for a high detail model, because I would love to see this thing fleshed out more, honestly.
Next view, though, orthographically. Now, this, obviously, the silhouette of a Klingon ship is very iconic. So how does this flow?
Again, I'm going to say it again. You're going to get sick of me saying it, but FASA. Just looks like one of the fastest silhouettes of the Klingon ships, right? It's aggressive looking, too. I really like it. It keeps the simplicity of the Klingon design and changes it enough to make it unique, but still super aggressive and cool looking. So I have no complaints with this.
Well, I think it helps what I said at the start, which even though you might be thinking, oh, it's clearly just a D7 silhouette, every element of that is not a D7 in terms of shape. We'll see that in a minute, or a Katinga. But it also is. It's quite fundamentally different. But if you're going for fleet size and style and, okay, we're going to keep the basics of Klingon, this keeps that while being entirely different. And it is bulkier, it is thicker, it is stronger looking. Now, it does kind of feel as if the neck and head, when you have that many extra elements pushing it further and further out, it looks a bit too long here, but in none of the perspective views I thought, damn, that neck came out too far. So that's a good balance then, because it might be weird here, but this is not the view you ever see, because it's also a different camera we're using to flatten the shapes. It's an orthographic camera, so not how you'll ever see it structurally. So I think that's a testament to their design choice, that it sort of doesn't work for me, but really does in every practical sense, apart from an orthographic.
And the funny thing to me, too, is looking at the three-quarter views, I didn't think that secondary hull was quite that shape and quite so like pulled back so far, but it totally works. Like
they had some good stuff in Legacy. This is you know, we're learning this the more we do these. Like, these are actually some pretty good designs. These aren't just kit bashes, right? Now the side and front and back view, to it. You can actually see on the front view, you can see the line where the texture's been mirrored.
Yeah.
Because they didn't mirror it perfectly.
Oh, that front view, again, looks so imposing. To see that coming at your ship would just be, wow.
Is it not too flat, though?
It is and it's not. Like, it doesn't have the turn down and kind of cantered in nacelles of the D7 and the Katinga. I love the straight nacelle look. I do like that a lot. Yeah, the side view, kind of looks like a turtle or something, but it's fine for what it is.
Yeah, and in fact, I just realized it's missing the back, pod, I suppose, and that does change the vibe. But it's got details in the middle of the back which help hide that in the perspective views. But in the side view, like, it's missing the front shape and the back shape to balance out. Without that, it's kind of lopsidedly detailed, but it doesn't come across in the other views. Super interesting. Front view for me, it's a bit too flat, but there's actually a charm to that. That is all kind of hidden and harder to hit. I buy that. I do like the aft impulse engine. I think that actually works quite well. Not perfect, but I mean, pretty darn good for a game. Now let's compare directly. How close was it to the Katinga? Well, damn! Not close at all, Stuart. Not close at all. These are not scale. We don't know the scales. This is just me filling the frame.
Same visual design language, and you can tell what fleet it belongs to.
Wow.
But when you compare them, it's like, wow, so many differences, yet so many things similar. It's quite amazing, actually.
I mean, they're not the same, but so easily recognizably the same. Wow, that's a well done them.
I'd be interested to see the scale of this thing compared to a D7 or Katinga.
But it does look bulkier and more armored. There's a robustness to this that the D7 doesn't have. I mean, certainly with the neck. I mean, of course, the neck is very thin.
Like I said, with those support things, those two support beams, and it almost feels like a narrative step between Enterprise and the D7, actually, because the D7 is quite smooth and simplistic. This one seems bulky, chunky, and almost like a more primitive version of Klingon.
It's tricky because of the Enterprise, John designed very pointy ships. The Raptor, the D5, these are very pointy green. This, to me, reads far more like a TOS ship with more detail. Like simpler shapes, more rounded off hard edges, as in, that head it doesn't feel exactly hard edged, but it's like a slightly rounded hard edge. So it gives you both vibes. So I would say TOS-ish.
As for me, I either see pre-TOS or I see post-TOS, because I think both would work. I don't see TOS because we've seen the D7 and this could be a cargo ship. This could be, like you said, a specialist ship or something.
Yes, it's not a frontline warship. It's a side profile ship. Speaking of side profile, wow, that was a segue. Here's a side profile, very different, but you see what I mean about the balance loss.
But it's not lost though, almost, because they don't have the towers on the front of the head of the boom of the ship. The top hat again, like I said. So you almost don't need the thing at the back, because the back angles down, the front just slopes nice and steadily down. It's a different feel. It feels slower and more sluggish, though.
Yes.
Like I said, it looks and almost feels like a turtle. I don't know why turtle keeps popping into my head, but...
And if the window scale is to be believed, because the windows are relatively consistent throughout the ship, compared to the D7, this thing is small. And again, the D7 scale is correct. This thing is very small. And this is a Rob Bonchoon, and he really put a lot of time into making this D7 or Katinga proper. So if those two things are believed, this thing is real small.
It's about 7 or 8 decks, maybe, by the looks of it.
Which I don't mind if this thing warped in as a light cruiser. But then it kind of implies to me the armored feel is more just, we haven't got the space to make big armor. So this is the same armor as a D7, but in a now smaller package. So it has an armored feel, but it isn't actually more armored. It's just comparatively armored while being weaker in every other field. But of course, a torpedo launcher is a torpedo launcher, right? You can put the most advanced torpedoes on a small ship and it's got the equal firepower just because the torpedoes are what the equal power level of. So it could just be a torpedo gunboat, warp in, torpedo, and that would be, very effective still.
Well, you'd think you'd see more torpedo ports for a torpedo gunboat, but...
Indeed.
I am enjoying looking at these ships. The fact that they look so impressive still, like the design language works. They just need higher poly versions so you can see more detail. Actually, see the window detail would be amazing too, because there's a lot lost in that secondary hull. You can see the windows on the top there, but you can't really see the windows on the top. I like this ship. If you did too, or you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell icon to all, and comment down below what you thought about this Ravenous class.
And if you want to support doing more of these ships, more fresh renders you've never, ever seen before, then support us via Patreon. It's the monthly donation service. Any and all amount a month does help us a lot. Or join the channel, same thing as Patreon, just not on Patreon. It's monthly, helps the channel, makes us go further, faster, and better. Or Super Chat is a donation, any amount during any of our lives. We love that interaction with you guys, so if you can help us out in that way, please do. Or PayPal, of course, trekyards@hotmail.com. Or super thanks on any video of our many years of service as a thank you. All helps us do what we do.
That's right. So until next time, he is still Patach Cockings.
He might get overthrown soon, but I can't say that yet. He is still Chancellor Foley.
And I'm ravenous, so I'm going to go eat.
Makes
See
sense.
you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Kapla.